Hello collectors, this is Tom from CollectAWrestlePalooza. Today I'm counting down the top 5 prices paid at auction for audio cassette tapes. I love this category. Back in the day, before the internet, you had to buy music on tapes. If you lived through it, you know the nostalgia associated with these amazing items. If you're new to this channel, welcome. We feature content about collecting with a big focus on professional wrestling, particularly from the 80's and 90's. But we feature all kinds of other collectibles too, like Garbage Pail Kids, music cassettes, and vintage t-shirts. If you've been here before, I'm really glad you decided to come back, thank you. I wanted to mention I have an eBay store, as well as a Patreon. For $5 a month, you can get your name in the credits of these videos, as well as 10% off everything in the CollectAWrestlePalooza eBay store every day. Links to all that stuff are in the video notes. But now, let's get to it. Let's count down the top 5 prices paid for music cassette tapes in November and December of 2024.
CollectAWrestlePalooza, CollectAWrestlePalooza.
I'm going to start with the criteria for this video. For a price to be included in the top 5 list, it has to be an eBay auction. Second, I'm filtering to only show legitimate sold and completed auctions that come up when I use the search term cassette tape. And stay tuned to the end of the video when I will compare the number 1 from this list to the number 1 the last time I ran this category way back in January of 2024, about 1 year ago. Coming in at number 5 is a really cool item, 1977 master recordings from a concert at CBGB's featuring the Cramps and the Ramones. I didn't even know they made music tapes back in 1977. I guess it makes sense, but I don't know if these cassettes are playable in standard 1980s tape decks or if you'd need a special player. This concert took place on June 9th, 1977 and spans 2 sets on 2 cassettes. The Cramps had yet to even release a studio album, and the Ramones were relatively new as well. This is an early concert for both bands. According to setlist.fm, the Cramps played What's Behind the Mask, Don't Eat Stuff Off the Sidewalk, TV Set, I'm Cramped, as well as a few covers, and the Ramones played tracks from their first 3 albums, all released in a 2-year span, including Beat on the Brat, I Don't Care, Now I Want to Sniff Some Glue, Sheena is a Punk Rocker, I Want to Be Your Boyfriend, and Chainsaw. These master recordings are an historical artifact, and for that reason they sold at auction for $474. Coming in at number 4 is another interesting item, a rare promotional tape from the artist formerly known as Prince, a cassette single featuring the 2 songs Slave and New World, which sold at auction for $481. This tape must be rare to sell at that price without being new and sealed. The seller indicates that this tape was given to concert goers who attended a show at his home venue on December 9th, 1995. The seller also states that a facsimile Christmas sheet would come with the tape, but that this copy does not have that included. And finally, the seller states the tape came from a Goodwill find. What a cool story. Nowadays, Goodwill employees tend to pick the rare items before they make it to the store shelves. I guess a few gems and rarities can still get through. Coming in at number 3 is my favorite entry from this list, a hand-decorated original music tape from none other than the late great Daniel Johnston. If you've never heard of this musician, a great entry point is the 2005 documentary The Devil and Daniel Johnston. That movie came out when video stores were still around, and I think introduced many folks to this performer's genius. Kurt Cobain loved him too, and wore a t-shirt depicting the cover art from Daniel's Hi How Are You album at the 1992 MTV Awards. This tape was hand-drawn by Daniel. He made all his music himself and created the tapes at home. He plays short, sweet melodies about life, pop culture, comic books, depression, love, and obsession. His music is not for everyone, but if you like it, owning an original cassette for $499 seems like a pretty nice pickup. This one is titled Continued Story and features a flying eyeball with wings. Very cool. Coming in at number 2 is another interesting tape, this one for fans of the band Mudvayne. This 2-tape lot features one of the earliest recorded interviews with the band from 1997, as well as a demo tape that the band had hoped the interviewer would play on the radio. According to the seller, Mudvayne was such a small band at the time that they discussed aspirations of playing at a 300-person capacity venue on the tape. They are advertising their upcoming show at Smiler Coogan's in Chicago during this interview, and also promoting their new CD, Kill I Oughta. I don't know much about Mudvayne, but these tapes seem like an important piece of the band's history, which is why they sold at auction for $610. And number one this week is two separate lots, both from the band System of a Down. I decided to feature both at number one as opposed to split them into two lots as number one and number two. One is from 1995 and one is from 1996 for $910 and $780 respectively. I'm not sure why System of a Down demos sell for this much money, but we have seen them on the top 5 before. According to Wikipedia, System of a Down released 3 demos during this time. They are all untitled, but loosely called Demo Tape 1, 2, and 3. Tape 1 is from 1995 and featured here on the left. Tape 2 is from 1996 and featured on the right. Tape 3 came out in 1997, right before their famous self-titled debut. And as promised, how do these sales compare to number one from a year ago? At that time, the highest price paid at auction for a music cassette was the rare, sealed Kylie Minogue single, Tears on My Pillow. To hear more about that cassette, you'll have to find that top 5 video in the archives. Happy New Year to everyone. That does it for now. We'll see you again soon.
CollectAWrestlePalooza, CollectAWrestlePalooza.